If you're listening to the replay of this live, be sure to punch that like and subscribe button and let me know and drop it below your 2 cents as I go throughout the live. Hi, welcome to the channel. I'm Jay, and this is our 2 cents, where we talk everything boxing, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. In today's live, we will be discussing: is there too much ducking going on in boxing? Is Crawford gonna fight Fundora next? And just random open boxing talk. But before we do that, make sure you punch that like and subscribe button. And make sure you let me know and drop it below as I go throughout the chat your 2 cents about what's going on in the conversation. Shout out to everybody that has joined me so far. Be sure to punch that like and subscribe button. That definitely helps support the channel. And guys, don't forget to hit me up in the Cash App to let me know how much you appreciate the show. If you would like to monetarily support the channel, you can hit it on the Cash App at 2 cents boxing. So, how's everybody doing this Sunday evening? We got All Things in the building. What's going on, All Things? Ariana, what's up? Jay Henderson, what's going on? Realistic Washington fan, how are you doing? Don't mess with Texas in the building. What's up? What's up? Teach, what's going on, Teach? John Wick, what up, John Wick? And Dragon Assassin Official, what's going on, y'all? Listen, this is the third day in a row I've been live. I don't know if I've ever done that. Not been live on my channel. Of course, I hop on a lot of people panel around the YouTube streets. That's how a lot of you met me and know me. But now I am here on my own platform. So Is there too much ducking in boxing? Now, I want everybody to do me a favor. Write in the chat what your definition of a duck is. I got my own definition of a duck, and I'm gonna let y'all know. But I want to hear what your definition of a duck is before I give you mine. Just let me know. Drop it in the chat. And what I'm going to do is drop the link. And if you want to, you can come up here. Let me know what is your definition of a duck. Because it seems like soon as some don't go nobody way, they say, "Oh, it's a duck. He duck. You duck. Ducktails." Now we're saying some people are saying Brian Norman Jr. duck. Some people saying he didn't duck. They should have just gave him the money. That mean Boots in his duck since they didn't give him the money. So I'm just curious, what a duck is. Because to me, a duck, and it's a fine line, I guess you could say, is very subjective. But a duck is somebody that is in a position to take a fight and they absolutely find a reason not to take that fight. John Wick say Canelo Benavidez is the best example of a duck. I mean, I guess you can't get no more clear cut than that. Canelo tell you he not fighting him. Boom. I guess that's a duck. But I'm talking about the people that like to try to disguise the duck. They try to disguise the duck. They try to say, "Oh, it's not enough money," or they wanted too much money. But at the same time, I also believe you can't necessarily call something a duck because the business can't work out. So it's a fine line. Dragon Assassin official says when someone leeches onto someone's name and refuse to fight them regardless of money, make moves behind the scene to avoid duck talk. Yeah, that's a good one. When you continue to call somebody name and then when the time comes available, you've been saying you want this, you want this, you want this. And then as soon as the opportunity presents itself, you say, "Oh, they not offering me enough money. They not offering me enough money." Now, in some situations, that may be true. And that's why we have to look at these situations. But then you got to look at the metrics of the situation to see how to apply the logic to it. So, Brian Norman Jr. versus Deron Boots Ennis. Was that a duck? Put a one in the chat if you think it was a duck. Because they said they wanted to fight. They said they would fight in Philly. They said they basically would do whatever it takes to make the fight. But then as soon as the offer was put on the table, they just needed a little bit more. A little bit more. A little bit more. Then they made the negotiations public. Why did they do that? Why did they make the negotiations public? Was it to put the pressure on Eddie Hearn and Boots Ennis? Did he deserve the 1.7, the 2.5, or whatever it was he was asking for? Because he has the belt. Because let's be honest, he doesn't have any of the other metrics to even be like, "Hey, we're gonna pay you $2 million." But at the same time, is it not on Eddie Hearn to make sure that Boots is able to get these unification fights so he can be undisputed at 47? So it could go either way. It could go either way. Some people say it's some ducking going on in the Shakur Stevenson Tank Davis situation. Which me personally, I don't think nobody's ducking nobody per se. But the only thing that bothers me about the situation is why would you go over to Eddie Hearn? Like it's obvious you're not gonna be able to make that fight while you over there with Eddie Hearn. And you say it's a 2-fight deal with Eddie. We'll see. John Wick say agreed. Sounds like outlaw pump faking, like he want to fight Tank, but signs with her. Ha ha. I think this is a deliberate action. It's fear, money, moving in a way to shape one path. It's how you see it. Okay. When people say fighters aren't afraid of each other, that's false. I can't say I think fighters. I don't think fighters be at the crib like, oh, I want to fight him. I'm afraid. I don't know if they do that, Teach. They might know it might be more of a challenge than what they want to deal with, but I don't necessarily think they're afraid. Brian Norman Jr. was trying to get that payday. He did get that payday. He did get that payday. Jay Henderson. And they are trying to frame it in a way like, oh, after my fees, I gotta pay 25%. I gotta do this and do that. Like, it's up to you to figure out what's going on with them fees, and you negotiate them fees and figure out what you need to do to keep most of your money, and you can avoid some of the taxes. That's on you to figure out, not for you to ask for more money, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So let me pin the link to the top of the chat. Anybody want to come up here and give their 2 cents about the situation? The topic is ducking and boxing. What do you consider a duck? I mean, nobody can force people to take fights. Nobody can force people to take fights. Salute Jarrell Hattie in the building. What's going on? So, what other situations would you all say was a duck? Can you duck somebody and then go back and fight them? Kind of like how they say Tank been ducking Vasily Lomachenko. Now he want to fight him. Now Vasily ducked him. If I come back and fight you, am I still a duck? John Wick say this is why I respect boxers like Caleb Plant Haney. Took less to fight Cambosis in Australia and won both fights. Gotta respect Gabe Rosado, those kind of boxers. They bought that action. Now, John Wick, I can agree with you to a certain extent, but I feel this way about this situation, right? I don't necessarily feel like you should be out here simping for these belts and being taken advantage of and letting people take things away from you that you've earned and worked hard for over your career. Are there certain situations where you may need to make sacrifices in order to get what it is that you want? Absolutely. I do agree with that. But not every time the situation comes up, the onus should be on the A side to give up something in order to make the fight. Sometimes we need to encourage the quote unquote B side fighters that they need to go ahead and take this offer and make the fight. That's right. You get what I'm saying? Not every time something needs to be sacrificed from the person that's built and done everything to get in the position that they're in, to sacrifice it to somebody who is in that position because they have a belt. And that's exactly what was going on with the Brian Norman situation. He was only literally in the position because he had the belt. Just to give my 2 cents. But if you feel a different way, let me know. Click the link. Click the link. Could they have asked for the money to be paid in installments? Laugh out loud. Give me $200K a year so I can stay in a certain tax bracket. You know, maybe that's what Al Heyman does with his fighters. You never know. Haney ducked fights too. Jay Henderson, what fights did Haney duck? John Wick says 2 cent boxing. Yeah, I don't disagree. I think nowadays the B side tries to get a little more and a little more to the A side, like you doing too much. Remember, you said that 2 cents. When the Tank and Shakur fight is made, the next debate will be about money. Yeah, to be about money, but like I just said, it's all situational. It's all situational. And a lot of times this stuff keep being about money is because people are really trying to like just fleece. And I get it. I get it. You are what you negotiate. I get it. I'm not tripping. But we got to be reasonable. People got to be reasonable. You want millions, you want to be paid millions and millions of dollars because you want a belt when it's a little bit more to it than that. It's a little bit more to it than that. Boxing and business is not just about what happens inside the ring. It's also about other metrics that you need to make sure you get taken care of. Dragon Assassin say the Spence versus Crawford deal has got fighters that are not a draw to act above their station. Well, you got to add Turkey to that too, Dragon. You got to add Turkey to that too. He is helping to contribute to that new dynamic that we're having in boxing. Or maybe it's always been around in boxing. Maybe we just didn't know because we didn't pay as much attention to the business or what have you. But whatever the case may be, it's starting to stand out, and people are starting to take notice and see, like, hey, hold on, and they're starting to have something to say about it. And you got a lot of people like, why y'all pocket watching? I'm just a fan. I just want to see the fights. Well, you can just want to see the fights all you want to. There are other metrics and things that play as to why you don't see the fight, and you need to understand that. Same thing with Outlaw versus Haney. Haney had all the belts, gave Kerr an offer, and he turned it down. Haney said, if that, then moved up. F that. Oh, Haney said, F that, then moved up. Kerr ain't done ish since. Greets in the building. Salute, Greets. King So Love One in the building. How's it going? John Wick agreed, fam. The A side should tell the B side that ain't got ish on me. Says just a little allergies. It sounds like change of seasons. Yeah. Yep. My allergies definitely got me sneezing over here. So, whose side are you on? I have people on the side of the B side and like, hey, the A side got it. I got something they want. They should acquiesce to my demands and give me what it is they want because I got something you want. Simp for me. Some fans agree with that. Dragon Assassin says 2 cent boxing. Yes, Turkey has encouraged the B sides that don't sell to think they can make ridiculous demands. I agree 100. Yeah, ridiculous demands. But eventually that will backfire on all the boxing because unless Turkey is planning on keep paying these quote unquote ridiculous amounts, which is obviously not what he's gonna do. Because if he was gonna do it, he would have gave Brian Norman Sr. the money. He would just be like, all right, what you want? Here you go. Just name your price. He would have told him, name your price. We here to get Boots Ennis undisputed. Name your price. See, if I was Jerron Ennis, I'm like, all right, I'm about to go over here. I'm about to sign with Eddie Hearn because we about to get these fights. They got the money. They just gonna have to name their price, give them the money. We make the fight. Boom. I'm undisputed next year and a half. But we all know it don't work like that, and it's not that easy. And we all know that obviously Turkey Al Sheik has certain relationships with some of these fighters to where maybe he's willing to spend this and this on this fighter, but he's not willing to do it this fighter. Or we don't know what type of arrangements they have with these promotional companies, or is he paying more for the Riyadh season cards? Like, we don't know. We don't know. We just all assume. We got H Money in the building. What's going on, H Money? Jay Henderson say, if I'm the A side, I'm either waiting the B side out or I'ma just keep fighting and making my money. I'll let that B side just keep making B side money. Now, another thing that I think that Brian Norman them tried to leverage was the fight that he didn't want to fight, the fact that he didn't want to fight Karen again. So if you look at the timing of it, boom, he got the belt, boom, he swoop in. They try not to make the Karen fight because they feel like don't nobody want to see that, and he's the mandatory. But unifications trump mandatory. So he tried to come in and make the unification fight right before it was time for them to decide on fighting a mandatory fight. So maybe he thought he was going to be able to hustle up that 2.5. Like, listen, we got everything you want. You don't want to fight the unification fight? Boom. You mean you don't want to fight your mandatory? Boom, we can make it a unification. You really want this belt? You want to be unified? Boom, I got the belt. I got everything you want right now. You should be willing to give me whatever it is I want. Either that or they had no intentions on making the fight in the first place. It's just as simple as that. Because, I mean, his dad is like, oh, well, we don't need that money. We can make that money in 2-3 more fights. Okay, well, go make the money in 2 or 3 more fights. Do what you need to do to work, raise your son's stock, and come back and then ask for that kind of money. Get you some title defenses, headline a card in your hometown, do all of that, and then come back and make the fight. Because it almost seems like no matter what they would offer you, to be like, oh, just let me get a little bit more. Let me just get a little bit more. Imagine if when Floyd fought De La Hoya, Floyd being the B-side, what if he said, nah, F that, I need more money? He would have regretted that. But he beat De La Hoya, then capitulated into superstardom. And that's what I'm saying, John Wick. Like, you gotta pick and choose when you're willing to make these sacrifices. You gotta pick and choose, and it gotta be the right decision. If you feel like, if they're telling you this fight not worth that, you should have been like, okay, cool. Let me go make the fight worth that. But you online complaining and talking about your fees and doing all that. Like, dude, we not worried about your fees. I mean, is that how you negotiate every deal? Or you like, nah, you got to give me 10% more to cover my taxes? You trying to cross the street to make the fight and they want to charge you 20-25%? Why did you even negotiate that high ass percentage in the first place in your original contract when you signed it with the promotional company? So that's on you. That's what you negotiated with if you decided to cross the street and make a cross promotional fight, you negotiated 20-25%. That's not on Eddie Hearn. You negotiated that in your contract. Jason Bird in the building. What's going on? John Wick says, become the cash cow after he beat De La Hoya. That's what these B-sides today don't realize. They don't sell, but when the time comes, they won't compromise when they don't have leverage. Chief say, I'm on Booth's side. He's been offered almost 8 times, but once 11 times. He needs to bet on himself and beat Booths. If we talk about the deductions, that's a whole other conversation. Rick Timms in the building. What's up, Rick Timms? John Wick say it again. I don't think the B-side, Fool A, Earthman are listening. Is his name really Karen? Kareen. It's from a different country, so we could be saying it wrong. Big Supreme say welfare check bud. Jason Boyd says Norman is obviously ducking. Pricing themselves out. I think welfare is outdated. Jay Henderson say, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to hold Brian Norman for going with this move, but he playing a dangerous game. If he has a bad fight or questionable victory, he can fumble the bag. Now, Jay Henderson, this was my question because I've heard people saying that they originally tried to feed Brian Norman to Santillion and he ended up winning. So if you think about that, the plan, quote unquote, was for him to get fed and to lose. But since he didn't lose, now he got the belt. What makes you think that Top Rank won't feed him again? That's my question. What make y'all think that Top Rank won't feed him again? So Samuel Washington in the building. What's going on, Samuel Washington? Listen, if you're new to this channel, help support the channel by punching that like and subscribe button. If you in the chat, you should have already punched the like button. If you haven't punched the like button, please go punch the like button right now. Hit it for the logarithm so we can let more people in to join the conversation and be able to drop their 2 cents. And guys, listen, I put in a lot of work on this channel. If you would like to support the channel monetarily, please donate to the Cash App, 2 cents boxing. Making these channels does take time. It does take effort. No shade to nobody, but I'm really putting time into my channel. I put up videos, edit videos. I'm not just sitting in my car recording a video. And no shade to nobody that do that. Awesome to them, but I just want to do something a little different, give a different look to the boxing community. So be sure to punch that like and subscribe button and just help support the channel, or give and donate to the Cash App at 2 cents boxing. Dragon Assassin says the best thing for B-side fighters to do is to negotiate in the background. And if it doesn't happen, no one call them a duck rather than cloud chasing off the A-side name. Better yourself than. Well, I think they do that because they want to try to put pressure on the other party. They want to make them look some type of way in the court of public opinion so that they can get what it is that they want. But I think it seems as though the public is kind of wising up to it a little bit, right? I mean, of course, you're always going to have people on both sides, but people are wising up to it a little bit. Section 8 check. Texas, what it do, sir? Yeah, they want Powerball in this Creole the Traveler. They like, man, I just got the belt. Give me $3 million for it. Give me $3 million for this belt. All right, let me take the time to thank. Give me a second. Jarrell Haiti in the Cash App for the $10. I appreciate it. Thank you for your donation to the channel. It definitely means a lot. And JH, I don't want to say your whole name, with the $5 in the Cash App. They say, for always a pleasure when I can join the convo. Thank you. I appreciate your $5 in the Cash App. Really appreciate that. Got the personalized message and everything. Thank you, JH. And then we got one from JB, another $5. Thank you so much for your boxing wisdom. Thank you. I appreciate that. Make sure I got everybody. All right, I think I got everybody. Shout out to everybody that's donating in the Cash App. Your contribution to the channel is greatly appreciated. So let's see. I can't lie. A lot of companies put their fees on their customers. There's a way for B. Norman to recoup that, but he doesn't have the leverage to make those demands. Teach say, listen, 2 cents. Norman has one more fight with Top Rank. What he can do is fulfill his last fight and make the fight after. He will be free from Top Rank. Well, you know, Teach, a lot of times when you win a belt, it extends your contract. I believe once you become a champion, a lot of times it extends your contract. Because Bob don't want you leaving with that belt. That's not what Bob wants you to do. Bob don't want you leaving with that belt. Brian didn't bet on himself. Norman Sr. actually asked for $2.8 million. A unification bout cost that much? It depends on how bad you want that belt. I guess they was trying to see. Yes, Brian Norman was definitely a sacrifice. John Wilk, the clout chasing blueprint is annoying, and people that try to justify it are just as annoying too. I mean, it's been going on for years. They've been doing it for years. It's just that you can see it more now because of the social media, and it kind of becomes more obvious because of the exposure you can have to the fighters and the things that they're saying and how they're flip-flopping and going back and forth, and you can see their energy changing. It says Boost ain't got no fans either. These ninjas just need to fight and stop acting like crawfish weird A's. Listen, Boost just sold out Philly. We can't say the man ain't got no fans. Boost just sold out Philly. $1 million plus gate, which is cool. 14,000, 13,000, whatever was in the stadium. What you mean he ain't got no fans? Creole Travel say cook 2 cents. H Money Deuce, you said too much ducking. Who do you think is ducking? Listen, H Money, that was just a question for the audience. Is there too much ducking? Benaiah Wright, what's going on? Is there too much ducking? And what is your definition of a duck? Mr. Greg in the building, what's going on? Oh, we got best videos in the building. Well, it isn't boxing about prize money. Y'all sound crazy. Well, boxing is about prize money, but at the same time, we're talking about the belts, making sacrifices. Should you just give up everything to somebody in order to get a belt, or should that person trying to get a belt be the one to take more of the risk? That's what we're asking. But the link is at the top of the chat. The link is at the top of the chat. Scared money into anxious money. It says, so the contract extension is contingent on becoming a champion. Damn, that's crazy. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But right at Top Rank, if you become a champion, your contract is extended. Why Bob Arum ain't said nothing at all? Because Bob Arum probably already turned down that fight and said they wasn't finna make it. So they just been capping. We got Terrence Best Videos in the building. How you doing, Terrence?
What up, 2 cents? I see you got your dogs out there on me. They, they blocking me for just speaking my piece. They don't
Oh,
like
you
what
been
I'm
getting
saying.
blocked? I ain't
Yeah,
even know you been
they
getting
timing
blocked.
me out for speaking my piece. You
Hey,
got
why
the
y'all
dogs
talking
out
out best
here.
videos?
The dogs out there, I see.
No,
But
no, I'm
yeah.
gonna reach you up. I'm gonna reach you up. Let me reach
But
you up.
anyway,
But
two cents. I'm
what's your
glad.
2 cents? What you got for the show?
My 2 cents is this. Um, I can see like right in your chat that they already starting this talked about Crawford stuff. My thing is, I don't understand the Crawford hate from you guys. I just don't understand. p- Period. Why it seems like all of you guys are in lockstep with the PBC. Am I wrong? Tell me one thing bad about the PBC. Let me see. Let me see where you're at. 2 cents. Tell me what they could do
Tell
better.
you what they could do better. They
Yes.
definitely could have more fight dates for their fighters so they could be more active.
Right.
And I think maybe they could be like maybe a tad bit more transparent when they're building fights or who they're looking to make fights with as far as their fighters go. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out like what it is people have against the PBC, but we've been talking about Matchroom on here lately, so I don't know what the
Well,
PBC's.
Matchroom. I mean, I listen. I got problems with all of these entities a lot, but my thing is, it seems like when there's a fighter on the PBC, it's like you can't say anything about it. Like because if you say something negative about a fighter on the PBC, it seems like you get a lot of animosity. Now, I would say this. I think they're doing better. I really do. I think their cards are pretty good. At least the last one they had. So I think they actually are doing better. My problem with the PBC for a long time was that one of the things they do, and any promotional body does this. One thing that irks me the most is when you use these numbers. Now keep in mind. I want to tell you something too, since what irks me. If you're going to use numbers, you're going to say you got these numbers that you're producing, pay per view numbers, and all of this. You should have to come out to the public and announce those numbers. This has always been a pet peeve of mine, is that they use these numbers to come up with who's the A side and who's the B side, right? But the only people that will get in trouble if they don't release these numbers, I mean, if they release false numbers, are guess who? It's companies that it's companies that if they produce those, they give fake numbers, they'll be lying to the investors, you know. So then that would be fraudulent. But guess who comes out with the numbers? People like these boxing reporters. They're just because they come out with a number and say this fight did this amount of pay per views or something, don't mean it's true. These
Well,
people could,
I don't
yeah.
disagree with you there, but however, the real numbers are being shown in negotiations.
You
They
keep
may not be
everybody,
necessarily released to the public, but they're definitely showing real numbers in
and
negotiations.
that's everybody says that, but how do you know? Where did you get that information? Why does it have to be released to them in negotiation? So if they say to them, "Oh, look, man, we did 3.7," you see it all over the page, all over the reports. Is this? You're telling me, and here's my problem with that. So you're telling me that they're getting inside information. Crawford is getting inside, or whoever that fighter is, they got inside information that's not being released to the public. Because if I want to invest in Top Rank or ESPN, I might want to know what those numbers were. You know, what did you do? If I want to invest in Fox and when they were doing pay per views, I might want to know the numbers. So they're getting inside information. Is that what you're telling me? 2 cents?
No, I'm telling you that most likely the information is made public somewhere. You probably can search and look it up,
Hey,
and
trust me, 2 cents.
that
I've been looking that up for the last 10 or 15 years. It's not. I think the last time I think Fox or one of them gave the numbers was about 7 or 8, 10 years, past 10 years ago. They just don't do it anymore. And no, I'm telling you, no, there is no one accountable for these numbers. So
it
that's
has
my
to be
problem.
you. Just say you don't know who's accountable
I,
for the numbers because
I'm
somebody has to
telling
be
I'm
for
telling you,
transparency.
since I tell you after your show, look it up and tell me who's accountable because I've looked for the last, like I said, 7 to 10 years. I haven't found any. I know that companies like Fox, companies that trade on a stock exchange, I know they are accountable. Yes, but they don't release numbers. So if they're not releasing any numbers, they're not. How can you hold them accountable? You know who's releasing numbers? Raphael. You think I want to believe him? How do I know that this guy isn't getting paid to release these numbers the way he's releasing them? You know, he's not accountable. If the numbers are wrong, and you know for a fact, if you look up some of these fights, you'll see 3 or 4 different numbers. Oh, it did 2.5. Oh, no, it did this. Oh, no, it did that. How do you know?
Well, this all I know is most
Yeah,
likely the people negotiating the fights have the numbers, and
but
I
that's what
mean
everybody says.
they can't
But that
release
would be
too much
inside
false
trading.
information to the public. They can't release
That
too much.
that would
It wouldn't
I
be insider trading, bro. It's not. It's not like the boxing is the main thing of
if you
these networks.
if
This it's
no,
it's
but if
not
you
like whether if a fight is just gonna push the stock if it's a good fight.
if they know, okay, if for instance, you see how they dropped, you saw Showtime dropped boxing, right? So let's just say the insider people knew that this was happening, and so the stock would take a hit. You're telling me that they can know that and I can't? I might have stock in there. That's what I'm saying. Is this information has to be public, and if it was public, to as a boxing fan, all I'm saying is if they were if it was public and these companies were releasing the numbers, then we could go say to Brian Norman or we could say to Crawford, hey, look, it's public. Here's the numbers. We know for a fact they did these pay per views, and there's no question about what they should be taking in terms of the pay per view buys.
Oh,
So
let me
yeah,
introduce Israel in response to that. Israel bound in the building. What's going on, Israel?
What's up, T Sam?
I'm
I
gonna come.
see you. I see you. That made that thou wow.
Yeah, finally did it.
oh yeah,
It was a nice little mountain
congrats,
to climb.
congrats with
Thank
that.
you, thank you.
Yeah, I
But
came over and subscribed to the channel. Go ahead though.
Yeah, but Terrence, what I was about to say was Brian don't even have no numbers to go off of.
I know he don't. I'm not really talking about Brian. Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah, but
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 we
uh,
know
what
it.
you got? What you got for
But
the
we.
show, Israel? What's your
Oh,
two
yeah.
cents?
So I wanted to chime in on that for a second. I wanted to ask you a question.
What's
So,
up?
and I ain't being facetious or nothing. I'm just really asking a serious question. So when we talk about the Boots and Norman situation or negotiations, would you think it would be fair that Brian Norman was asking for no less than Boots' best opponent? You see what I'm saying? Like who made the most money fighting Boots? Do we know that?
I don't know that. Do you know?
I think that I don't know for sure, but I think I heard somewhere around the neighborhood that the Barrios or somebody they paid him 2 million.
He never fought Barrios.
I mean not Barrios. What's dude's name? It'll come to me. But either way, if he asking for 2 million, let's just put that to the side until I come up with whose name I'm trying to think about. Let's just put that to the side for a second.
Okay.
If he if he if he's bringing a belt, which you made a statement that said that okay, he got basically email belt. You know what I'm saying? He didn't fight for that belt. He hasn't defended it, and which is a strong point because that's all true. But it ain't that who did Boot, how did Boots get his belt?
Email.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it. I'm
When
just
did he
saying
when did he defend it?
he just defended it against Avanesian.
Right. That we all say, you know what I'm saying? We had questions about Avanesian when Bud beat him up. But you know what I'm saying? But I don't take that stance. A fight is a win is a win. That's a defense. I forgot about that actually. So thanks for bringing that back to my attention. But at the same time, I'm saying like that's one defense against a questionable opponent.
Yeah.
So
But
I
my
think
but my point is not about the level of opponent or it's about none of that. It's just about because you have a belt, should we give you $2 million? And I see both sides of it, just to let you know that I see both sides of it, but you gotta
right,
consider like as a promotional company and as Boots having a partnership or a relationship with this promotional company, do he want to put them in a position to lose money in order to be unified to get that belt? Now, one, Eddie Hearn, should he be in a position to lose money? Did he promise Boots that he was going to be able to get him the undisputed if he signed to Matchroom? I don't know. But
right,
two, should Boots Ennis do that and set the precedence that listen, you just name your price and I'm sipping for these belts?
right.
Because if he does that for Brian Norman, he's going to have to continue to do it. And now you got to think about it. If I care about my promotional company and I want us to have a great relationship, I don't want to put them in a position to where they have to do this versus acting like Andre Ward and Terrence Crawford and like, hey, if you lose money, that's on you, long as I get paid.
But Brian Norman said, Brian Norman Sr. said that he sent in a counter offer that he said he'll take it for 1.7, but in Vegas.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that's the point I forgot to make. That makes no sense.
Only
And
reason I think the only reason he said it because I'm with you from Boost Camp. No, it makes absolutely no sense. But from their extent, that's why I was in their counter uh, offer because of the taxes. You know what I'm saying? Like I think they got a big tax cut, a big tax responsibility in Philly if they had a fight there. So
Man.
I'm thinking it's just them trying to work out how they gonna
but
maximize.
it's not Eddie Hearn's job to cover your taxes.
We
That's
no,
on
he's
you
not trying to
to
cover the
figure out the
taxes.
ways to rate.
No,
Yeah,
he's not.
that's what you're saying. You got to pay me more money because I got to pay taxes.
No, he said. So listen. So Eddie Hearn said, that, okay. So Brian Norman shot the offer for 2 million, right? They rejected that offer. Eddie Hearn said that he already was willing to pay 1.5 or somewhere around there. He said, okay, how about 1.7 in Vegas? So he's not asking for no more than Eddie Hearn already said that he was willing to pay.
Bro, why would listen? Let's be reasonable. Is this a fight that could be made in Vegas?
No, I'm just saying I'm just talking on the counter offer. I ain't saying if it makes sense or not from either side. I'm just saying that's what he said.
No,
I'm
I
not taking a
know.
position on either side. I'm just
Yeah,
putting that out there because that's what was said.
but this is what I'm trying to get across because it seems to me it almost is like I'm probably wasn't going to agree with whatever you said. If you said you would have gave me the 2.8, I'm going to push it another 200. If you say you only want to give me 1.7, give me the 1.7 and let's do it in Vegas. You know damn well I can't do this fight in Vegas.
Why not?
Who's
It's
going to
probably
pay for
gonna be
that?
too
It's going
expensive.
to cost too much money. Y'all are not at the level you, Norman, nor Boots, even together at a level to where we're going to be throwing a fight for y'all in Vegas.
That's a fair point. I,
Yeah, but the
I,
thing, but I think that is a consideration that they could throw in more money if taxes is a problem. If just make the fight. Eddie got the money. What's the problem?
right.
He's fine with him.
It's
I don't
two,
know. I
it's
don't know
two
why.
million. It's $2
You
million.
a couple $100,000 and have it in Philly. What's the problem? The 2 cents.
Do
Give
you
them
realize
the.
we'll be saying this every time it's time for Boots to make a fight from now on? I mean,
No, that ain't true.
it's
It's already
always been
like
an
I
that.
don't think
Two
that,
issue.
I
cents.
don't think
Wait,
that'll
hold on,
be
hold on,
Two
2
hold
cents
on.
cents.
is all.
It's always been an issue for him his whole career that people want to outprice themselves because his revenue haven't caught up to his skill level. So now when people want to fight him, they want so much money because he's like high risk, low reward, but they want all this money to fight him, but it's not happening. And I think that they believe once they got a belt that these fights will be easier to make. And I think that they're seeing that that's not necessarily true. They're
But
still
Boots,
having the same problem.
but in all fairness, 2 cents. When has Boots ever fought for a belt?
Exactly. And he still can't, he's still having a hard time fighting for a belt.
Okay. So here's somebody that's coming with a belt that's willing to
Right.
fight you.
Just give them a
That's
couple
what I'm
hundred.
saying. So Boots is a Boots. If anything, other than I'm going to give you that Boots is definitely got the bigger name and going to draw a bigger crowd. That's where it stops, though. That's it. Because they stand on equal ground as far as
No, they're
records,
not.
as far as I
They're
think
not on
Brian
equal
Norman.
ground.
Well, hold up. I think if we go back and do the history, Brian Norman Jr. has a stiffer, if not just as stiff, if not stiffer, resume than Boots.
Hold on, let me get Mr. Greg 2 cents. Mr. Greg in the building, patiently
Well,
waiting.
congratulations again on you getting those numbers. We hope to keep see them going up. I
Thank you,
want to
thank
just
you,
throw
thank
a
you.
few things that I heard earlier. I think one of the guys was asked what had mentioned something about the legality of showing numbers, and he used the stock market as I think one of the examples. In that case, you do have to have you have to have official numbers when you're using that when you're getting people to buy stock into a particular company, or you do have fraud. But when you're going into negotiations for boxing, for so to speak, and you're talking about how many numbers, or how many pay-per-view buys, or what the revenue was, the revenue part you do have to be correct on, but the numbers you don't necessarily have to be correct on because there's no law that dictates you do that. However, in the case with Boots and with Brian Norman, the fact that Norman has a belt, more than likely he does have an automatic extension with Top Rank, but that also puts him in a position where his father or his management people will now renegotiate with Top Rank for whatever guaranteed money that's going to be offered. I believe that what they're going to do is they'll entertain these offers from fighters that has bigger names, but actually I think they're going to renegotiate with Bob, get guaranteed money, be able to sort of milk that belt a little bit because this is the first time he's ever even been in the conversation of having $1 million paydays. Period. Whether he actually gets them or not, it's another thing. They could blow it, but I think when once he's in that position, Bob was probably will probably want to keep him because he has the belt. Most promoters would. So they'll take some lighter, easier fights where he'll get the lion's share of the money until he builds himself a little bit better before he takes these fights with Boots or Crawford or Ortiz or any of these other guys that are out there that I think would probably easily beat him. But that's how the game is played. I think I said earlier, so a lot of these guys are playing checkers when they think they're playing chess. The powers that be know what they're going to spend on an individual fight, regardless of who has a belt and who doesn't. They know what they're going to do. So when we see the fights, whoever made the decision to pay, they knew what they were doing or should have known what they were doing. I'll put it that way because there could be some mistakes. At this point with Boots, he's in a quandary too because I don't when he was signed to Showtime, which is why I think a lot of us really know him because Showtime did do a degree of marketing where you knew who he was and it matched up with his skill set. The same can't be said for Brian, which is why he was a bigger name, even though he wanted to fight Brian to get his belt. They understood that that was a lose-lose situation for that. They'll get that money that was offered them, but then that would probably have been it for him. They'd have got the belt. Boots will move on, elevated even further up. Brian probably would not be heard from again. So
Right.
I think what they're doing, this is my opinion. I think they're entertaining these big numbers from these better fighters, but in reality, I think they're being smart. Say, listen, let's just go renegotiate with Bob, take easier fights, get the lion's share of the money for a longer period of time, fights that you most likely are going to win. That's where I think it's going. Now, Boots, he has a problem of his own. He's good, very good. He's very skillful, and he represents a challenge to everybody at 147, which he'll probably beat. But he also represents a huge challenge to the top guys at 154 right now. So now those guys got to consider if I get in the ring with this young 26-year-old who got all this skill, what's going to become of me? Because he's going to benefit more from beating them than they will from beating him. Hence,
But Mr. Greg, you just gave me an idea.
mhm.
What if they were negotiating to use those numbers to renegotiate their deal with Top Rank?
I believe they are.
Exactly. But,
Yeah, I believe they are.
yeah, I wanted to touch on what you're saying. Everybody's looking at this um wrong in the sense that they're playing the long game. And if I'm Brian's dad, I'm gonna play the long game too. I know my son's not probably gonna beat Boots. Fight these, fight these other, get my name up. Fight these fights that I'll win, and then if we win all of those fights and we fight Boots, guess how much more money that I made than the 1.7 you're offering me? That's the long game. That's the smart game. And if y'all really want to fight me, y'all gonna have to pay up. You know, if I'm gonna take a shot, this is what Brian's dad is saying. If I'm gonna take a shot, one shot at beating Boots, which I know I'm probably not gonna do, we're gonna just like Mr. Greg said, my name's we're no longer popping anymore. I want as much money as I can. I don't understand why no one understands that. That's how boxing's always been. When people got a belt that probably isn't the best in the division, they try to either sell a belt or hold it as long as they can and make as much money as they can. And I don't get what the problem here is now. Is it because it's Boots?
Nobody's saying it's a problem. Everybody's just stating their opinion about it. I mean,
Yeah, that's what's
if he
going.
would have got the fight, he got the fight. But now that I'm looking at it from this perspective, maybe he was trying to see how much he could negotiate for to kind of go back and sell the belt to Bob in retrospect.
Yeah,
You know,
Okay.
think about it, 2 cents. Every fighter who gets a belt somewhere along the line, I don't know how long it would have taken them to get that point, but once they got the belt, their tax status changes immediately because now they're going to get a certain amount of money automatically in the subsequent fights that they have. So if it's easier for me, for instance, Boots offered 1.5, let's put it like that. But let's just say I could take 3 or 4 fights for 500,000 that I'm most likely going to win. Still stay champion, build my resume up even more, and maybe done made, let's just say $2.5 million on 4 or 3 or 4 very easy fights. It makes more sense because now you're maximizing that. Plus, Bob is probably going to give him guaranteed money at some point in time of some particular amount. It's easier to do that than to take the risk that you most likely are going to lose fighting Boots. So you'll get that one payday,
That's it.
you're out of there. So
That's
yeah,
it.
I believe they are playing the long game, and it makes more sense, particularly when you're not really that skillful. I mean, you're not on Boots level. Yeah, you might believe psychologically, I got this. I'm most fighters think nobody can beat them until they get beat. But some fighters kind of know where they are in their career, and Brian can't really believe that he's on the same level as Boots. He just
But
can't.
Greg, he knows he's not because
look,
they've
look, check this
sparred.
out though. Check this out.
They
I can tell
sparred.
dudes not boxing fans. Norman was this close to getting cut from Top Rank. Now he deserves 2.8 million, and this is what I'm saying. Now he has leverage with that belt to re-sign his contract. And not only would he have the leverage from the belt to re-sign the contract, he would have the leverage from these negotiations because he could say, "Hey, look, Bob, I could just go fight Boots, and we could just take this belt over there."
And now the machine is about behind him a little bit more now that he's actually a champion. So they'll pour a little bit more into him from a marketing point of view. So it's a win for him if he's smart and not they should not have dragged out the boot stuff too much, but it's a win for him not to fight Boots at this point.
Yes, it
GM,
is.
we already talked about the turkey angle. We already blamed turkey. We on to something else now.
But this would happen with so many people.
That's it. Now Turkey threw 5 million at Brian. Yeah, man. Turkey doing that. Turkey don't think it's a big enough fight. So I don't know. I don't think Turkey think it's a big enough fight to get involved with this.
Why ain't T
But
Diddy
I
pay
wonder how the thing Terrence Crawford said that they mentioned in the Eddie Hearn and Andre Ward interview was that these promoters don't really dislike each other. Now, I'm not sure if I agree or 100% disagree with that, but you got to wonder and ask yourself, did Eddie and Bob get on the phone and Bob is just like, nah, we want to keep them. It's not enough. You know what I'm saying? Like if they had some type of talks behind the scene
That's
to
normal.
keep
Wouldn't be
Brian Norman from
surprised.
leaving. You get what I'm saying? So you
Yeah,
just never know.
that definitely could be the case. They have to have some camaraderie. If
I
you
don't
they do, it's not a lot of them around, so I'm sure they have each other numbers.
I don't think they have the animosity that Bob Aaron and Don King had. I don't think it's at that level because if you remember, King in the interview, he was planning to kill. I'm sorry, unalive. Uh, uh, Bob Aaron, and the mob had to step in to shut it down. So nobody's at that level today. That's in the promotion game. But I think there's still a little residue between Golden Boy and Bob and Al Heyman. I think that they got some tension, but I don't think it's anywhere near where Bob and Don King were. So I would say that they still realize the landscape has changed. Most of boxing is going over to streaming, and they need to try to cooperate a little bit more so they can, if they're going to stay in the boxing game, to make some money. So, but it's still just difficult because now fighters' eyes are open a little bit, a lot more too. They're like, wait a minute, I don't want to be in the back of the line getting paid when I'm the one that's in the ring getting my brains beat out. So now they've stepped up a lot to make demands as well. So that's now made negotiate. At one point, as you know, fighters just shut up, sit in the corner, let us guys in the suits make the deal. Here's what we're gonna give you. You don't want it? Okay, well, you ain't fighting. We'll get somebody else. That's not the game anymore. So now they get to have a little bit more say. At some point in time, somebody is going to be able to finance their own fight. Now, who that's going to be, I thought it would be
I thought
Canelo.
Mayweather used to do that, didn't he?
No,
No,
He didn't.
he just made it seem like that's what he was doing.
exactly. He
Canelo
put his
don't
own
even
money.
do that. And he
Yeah,
the face of boxing. Canelo
yeah,
don't finance
Canelo,
the
all the
fight.
money.
Yeah. Fighters
It
want
got
to get paid. They don't want to have to pay out anything. And that makes sense. But I mean, at some point in time, you might become so powerful or have such a access to financing, such as if, let's say, you're a guy like Al Heyman was when he went to, I can't think of the name of the investment firm that put up the $500 million. If you got that as a fighter and you know how to use it properly, because you got a staff of seasoned people who know how to spend the money properly, yeah, you got some power then. But who got that right now? Nobody. Not one of them. So they have to find whoever's going to put up some money, and whoever's going to put up some money is going to make the rules in some way. But the fighters are also going to try to impose what they want because they understand all it will take is one punch, and I can't fight anymore.
Yeah.
right.
So
So let me go around the panel too real
mhm,
quick. And Israel, I'm gonna start with you. Like, what is your definition of a duck? What makes you feel like a fighter has ducked another fighter?
So I think it's a couple of different variables that you have to consider, um, namely the intention of the opposition, right? Like how much energy are you getting from the opposition that we're saying you are or not ducking? Like what's that energy like first? And then secondly, how much emphasis are you and your promotional company, because now we can't really separate the two, the the fighter from the promotional company. So how much influence or how much emphasis is your promotional company and your team putting on uh, money and fans and all of this, right? Because a fight is a fight, and once again, and if you come from a background of watching boxing from any significant distance in history, you see that that was never the case. You never seen this in boxing. You rarely heard about ducks in boxing. You didn't hear this shit. It's new, really.
All right, what you got, Mr. Greg?
I'm kind of leaning to in the same way that Terrence has just explained it. Why is the fighter ducking? First of all, is there a business reason? Is the management say if we take this fight right now, we're not going to be in position to get this fight over here that we know will pay more. So is it in your best interest not to take a fight that maybe even the fans want to see right now to be in a position to get another fight that pays more? Or does your management people realize you just not ready to fight this guy? but his name is big enough for you to try to feed off in terms of just the back and forth and the running off with the mouth. Except that guy may say, okay, let's fight right now. Now you done put yourself in a position where you got to get out of that. Now, luckily, because you don't finance the fights in the first darn place, it's going to happen, but you're going to be embarrassed, and you should be called a duck because you should have kept your mouth shut. So when you think about, like I said, when you hear, like you was hearing, we was hearing Secure and trying to bark at a tank and things of that nature, what's never spoken of is who's going to finance, who's actually going to pay for it, because you don't hear anybody from the management companies and the promoters, I should say, actually saying we will send a contract to Tank on behalf of Secure to fight this fight, or vice versa. But it's usually with the duck is usually when you run your mouth and you get called on it, and then you got to back away from it. From my perspective, and
Oh,
this
I
is
see what you're
because
saying.
and this is
Okay.
because fighters are now before they're 100% in pocket trying to play businessman. They run in their mouths. I'll send you the contract. We're gonna offer you this. You're not offering nothing because you don't have it. So that's why we see. That's why we're seeing all this now because everybody want to be a boss, and you're not really a boss yet. You got a little bit of name because a lot of times because of social media, you didn't have that say 12 years ago, 15 years ago. Now you do. You can really look like you're more in terms of being marketable than what you actually are. And we see that. Guys who got names but still not selling
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
still haven't been marketed and there's nothing compelling that makes everybody, yes, I'm getting ready to pay to see this guy. He's been doing this thing. I mean, look at Inoue. He's big on Japan, and we've all seen him, but he's still not that well known in the
Well, they
United
it seems
States.
like they're not really trying to make him well known in the U.S.
And sometimes there's a reason for that. If I could keep the money over there and have everybody come over to me, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Because it's also about control and being able to dictate. And everybody wants to do that, but you got to get in a position to do that. And the way you do that is you're knocking everybody out because that's what we like to see in fighting in boxing. We want to see spectacular knockouts that make you just say, "Good." Oh, well, I can't cuss, but
Yeah. All right. Let me get to Terrence.
yeah,
Terrence, best videos. What is your definition of a duck? And I'm going somewhere with this. Go ahead,
okay.
Terrence.
All right. Well, to me, the first component is where the two fighters at right now in their progress. I mean, like you can have a fighter that's 10-10 and he's calling out a champion. Yeah, I want to fight you. I mean, it's ridiculous. No one's going to call it, even though the guy really wants to fight the champion. And he really thinks he can beat him. When you look at where they're at in their perspective positions in the boxing status, they're going to clown this guy because even though he really wants to fight him and the champion is not going to fight him, no one's going to call the champ a duck. So we have to look at where fighters are at in their position. Why do we call Benavides? Why do we call Canelo a duck? Because in their perspective, life, boxing life, we know that Canelo has plenty of money. He's beaten, fought plenty of times, and he's at the pinnacle of his career. He's the champ, and we know Benavides has earned his shot. So when Benavides calls him out and says, "Let's fight," we call him a duck because there's just nothing financial like we were talking about with Brian Jr., where he's made no money. This guy's made plenty. So when we look at everything in their life and we say this fight should happen, there's no reason why this fight doesn't happen. That's a duck because there's no reason why this fight shouldn't happen. And this is one of my problems when I had the problem with Errol Spence and Bud. I'm like, at that point, they're fighting. He has 3 belts. He has 1 belt. There's nothing else. Bud has money. Errol has money. So if Bud loses the fight, That's it for them. If Earl loses, that's it for them. They're pretty much set up for life. There's nothing should be holding either back to take the fight. That's when I consider a duck. When two people in those positions where financially maybe they're on the same level, and it's just time to either if it's like two guys, two prospects, they're on the same level, they're in the same financial situation, and one of them doesn't want to fight. That's a duck because you are the same. So, but when it's a mismatch, that's when we were talking about the business. So sometimes the business don't make sense for people to fight right then and there. Then the second thing is there, like they said, the energy. So when they're both have the same process, they're in the same position, and one has energy. Like when Bud was in, oh, I keep saying when Bud was backstage saying, "Oh, what, let's get it." Make it a million. So you know that energy, and Earl didn't match the energy. So when a person's not matching that energy and they're in the same position and then they don't want to fight, I'm calling it a duck. So that's how I look at ducks. Not necessarily a person not wanting to fight. I'm looking at the positions of the fighters in their career, and if they both to me are similar, you have no reason not to take the fight. It's just that you don't want to lose. That's why you're ducking. That's why Canelo don't want to lose. That's why he ducks fighters that could beat him and he might lose. And that's where I go with the ducking.
All right, the black kid in the building. What's up, the black kid? The Millionaire podcast says, so then Shakur a duck. So, I
Okay.
mean, I get
Well, tell Black
everybody's.
Kid to come up and explain that.
Oh, that was
He
the Millionaire podcast.
uh well whoever
But
the podcast
the
come up on it,
Millionaire podcast,
come in and
we
explain that.
do got the link right there
Yeah,
in the
tell him to
chat
bring
if you would like
come
to
up
come
here.
up because Terrence Best Videos says he wants all the smoke. But yeah, so my point that I was bringing up was everybody up here had their different opinions about what a duck is, even though a lot of it sounded similar. So the point that I'm trying to make with this is ducking is subjective. So I mean, you can go back and forth all day arguing with people if you think they duck, we duck, they ducked, he didn't duck, but it's subjective to everybody. And I just want to try to get some type of universal definition of a duck so we can stop using this term so loosely. Everything is not a duck. Um, do I think Tank or Shakur ducked one another in this situation? No, I don't think anybody ducked. I just don't think that they planned on or were prepared to fight each other right now. And I think it's that simple. But the issue is the clout chasing that's gone wrong because these people want to call out Tank and say his name when he's not free. And now when you're in a situation to where both of you appear to be free, people expect you to get something done. Now it hasn't been Tank making all the noise and talking. You know, he barely say anything. It's been Shakur doing that. So since he's been the one doing the cloud chasing, he's the one that's going to receive the backlash. It's just that simple. I know a lot of people want to be like, well, Tank ain't said nothing. Why Tank ain't say? He never says anything. He doesn't have to say nothing because he hasn't been being the one doing the cloud chasing.
But I would
Well,
like to push back.
I would
Okay.
say,
I like to push back.
in response to that, I would say that if a fighter says, or it ain't even got to be a fighter, it could be in a bar. Like if somebody says, "Shit, I want to fight you," I mean, you got to say something. Like, what you
Why?
mean? Like,
What does he need to say?
because like because of the simple fact that Tank Davis is in the position of ultimate power. There is nothing that Shakur Stevenson can do to set a fight in motion. All he can do is say, "I want to fight you," and you did say you wanted to fight me already. So if we both then already said it, in fact, I agree with you. There's nothing else to be said, right? Make the contract. And who can make the contract? Shakur? No. We would all agree that there's no way that Shakur Stevenson can set terms and conditions for a
Exactly.
contract with
But you
Tank
know what
Davis to
Shakur
fight.
Stevenson can do? He can go somewhere to put barriers up to not be able to make the fight, which is
What you
exactly what
mean?
he did. He
May I
went
say
What you
over
mean?
to Eddie Hearn, who quote unquote, they don't like each other, so it's the fight not gonna get made over there with Eddie Hearn.
Okay,
So
so let
and
me explain
and
that.
Eddie Hearn has came out and said he was also instructed on top of that to not negotiate and make the fight.
Yeah, we
So
all heard that, but see, that's the whole thing. When you bring up that point, you have to, if you want to be fair, you not you in particular, but if a person wants to bring up that point, they have to be fair and continue out the context of that conversation, because he also said, because I don't want to ruin his chances to make the fight. He only signed 2 fights for Eddie Hearn, meaning he can have these 2 fights whenever. Eddie Hearn said this himself. They ain't got to be
no, hold
back
on,
to
hold on,
back.
hold
They
on,
ain't got
hold
to be
on.
now. Go ahead.
Tell me what sense does that make? He can make these 2 fights whenever. No, he's gonna make
No,
the fights
listen.
back to back. And then this is the thing.
No,
If
that's
that's the
not what the
case,
contract. No, you're saying that, but that's not what Eddie Hearn said. That's what I'm saying. If we gonna go by what Eddie Hearn said, forget
And
what
I
we
got something
talking
else.
about. What did Eddie Hearn say?
And that's all, I got
He
something
said
else
that
too.
these fight does not have to happen back to back. Meaning Shakur Stevenson can go fight Tank Davis because I was instructed to stay out of that particular fight so that I don't ruin his chances of making that particular fight. That's
so
exactly
why
what
would you
Eddie Hearn
even
said.
listen? But why would you? I don't know. I just don't understand why you would even go to Eddie Hearn to have to
Now,
tell him to stay out the way. Why did you even put
now,
him in the way?
now, see,
Because Tank don't like Eddie Hearn.
now,
No, I
see,
think she's
Exactly.
asking
now,
why
I
would
could
you?
answer the question.
Okay,
I,
okay.
I can answer the question. So here's the deal. Y'all remember when um Mayweather and Tank were arguing and everything, and then y'all heard when Shakur was talking, telling telling Tank, talking shit to Tank. He wanted to fight. Y'all remember that. Now, at some point, um Tank was going to fight Lomachenko. Now, keep in mind that was the plan. They were supposed to fight. So during that time, as between that time, at some point he had signed with Eddie. Why? Because Tank was already doing something. Now he's never came out and said that he signed, but obviously he had signed the contract because he had stopped talking shit about Tank. Once he signed that contract with Eddie, he can now. That's why I don't agree that with you when you say he can fight anytime. I think he has to fight those 2 fights consecutively.
Absolutely.
I don't because I
No,
don't
that
believe I don't
hold
I
on.
don't
All you
well
gotta
I
Why
don't
do is
would
believe
hold
you
on. All
I
you
listen?
don't.
gotta do is go look at the Eddie Hearn
No,
video,
no,
and
I
there's
agree.
no
No, no,
you don't
no.
have
I
to.
hear.
No,
I'm
no,
sure he
Eddie Hearn's a
said
liar
that.
though. But we're
Yeah, I'm
saying
sure he said that.
Eddie Hearn is a liar, and he's a snake. But
But Eddie Hearn is the one who made the contract, though.
But Israel, let me
yeah,
ask you a
yeah,
question.
but
Let
yeah,
me ask
but
you a
we
question,
don't know if
Israel.
that's true or
If
not.
you would sign
Okay,
a
but
fighter
so
and
we
say,
can't
wait,
take
wait,
your side
Israel,
or that
Israel,
side.
Bound,
We
let
can
me
only
ask you a
go by
question.
what he said.
We can only
Right,
go
right,
by what he said, but let me
right,
ask you a
right.
question and tell me if this makes sense to you.
But
I'm
he
going to sign
signed.
a fighter to a 2 fight deal. And in
Right.
this 2 fight deal, I'm going to tell them, matter of fact, listen, you're dating a woman, right? And you gonna tell this woman, oh, if I work out of town, when I'm out of town, it's okay for you to do whatever you do, but long as I'm in town, you better not do nothing. No. Why would I sign a fighter to 2 fights and say, oh, if you find another fight, you can go over there and fight with them and then just come back to me? No, that doesn't make any sense.
But two since
And
that
then on
doesn't
top of
help
that,
your
I'm not even
argument.
going to
Because
profit
he
off of it
only
or
signed.
anything.
Listen. Because he only signed for 2 fights.
But
Exactly. So just
but
It's
two
wait till
not.
cents.
after.
There's no
So why
long.
would
There's
you
no. It's
need
just
to?
like listen.
Why
It.
would you need to leave in the middle of this deal? You wouldn't need to leave in the
Listen. He
middle of
don't.
this
It
deal. It's
doesn't
only
have
two
to
fights.
happen that way. It can happen that way. Is what he's saying. It's a flexible situation. This is what Eddie Hearn said. It don't have to happen that way. They can happen consecutively, but they can happen non-consecutively. This is what the man said in public.
And
But why
So
would
listen,
you
I
why
need a
agree.
lie about
flexible?
something
Why
like that?
would you need a flexible deal for 2 fights, bro?
Listen, this is what he said. He said, would I prefer to have him locked down as a fighter of mine to represent him and this, that, and the other? He said, absolutely. He said, but in this day, you know what I'm saying? If I can get him for this, this is what I got him for. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't want me involved in this particular deal so that I don't ruin his chances to make the fight. This is what the man said. So we can't sit here and say, oh, he got to fight the fights back to back. And Eddie Hearn literally said, no, he don't. Eddie Hearn made the contract.
But here's the problem with that. If we're saying that he could do that, then they're going to say, oh, then he could just go ahead and fight Tank now. And then they're going to say, oh, yeah, he sent them a contract because he said, yeah, he sent us something, but we don't know what it is. See, you see where if you go down that route, they're going to try to say he's ducking because
listen, what's happening is y'all putting parameters on the contract that's not there. The contract is just between them for 2 fights. It don't have no timelines on it. It's for 2 fights.
So you're
you're telling me, hold on. You're telling me he can fight 1 fight now, and then let's hypothetically speaking, go over to PBC, fight 3 fights, and then come back and make his last fight.
I'm sure.
There's
no
point having a flexible deal with 2 fights. Just fight the 2 fights. He's supposed to be fighting now, and he's supposed to be fighting again in February.
If the writer of the contract says that these fights don't have to happen consecutively, what is there to argue about?
But what your name's Israel. But okay, so the counter to that is then they're going to say, well, why isn't he entertaining the Tank fight right now?
Hold up, listen. Who isn't entertaining the Tank fight right now?
Shakur.
Tank so he can. Tank trying to fight somebody else right now.
I agree with you, but listen, they're saying that they sent Tank. There's the Tank side is saying that they sent Shakur an offer, and now what you're saying is he should be able to take the offer with Tank right now.
Hold up, they never sent Shakur no offer.
Now I agree with you that I don't think they did, but they're saying they did. They're saying they did.
They didn't. They didn't. They never sent Shakur no
an offer. They called and tried to, talk, maybe negotiate some terms. And I believe that when they made that phone call, they were told that Shakur is already tied up or signed with Eddie Hearn, which is why nobody ever got back to him.
Nobody came out and made such a statement. Nobody said that ever happened. Listen, what the truth of the matter is, listen, Tank, like you said, Tank was supposed to be fighting Cambos. What's his name?
Lomachenko.
Lomachenko. Now, at that time, we don't know Loma going. You know what I'm saying? Nobody knows Loma finna back out of the fight.
Exactly. Nobody.
So like you said, as far as Shakur is concerned, Tank is wrapped up. So I got to keep it pushing.
Yeah, exactly.
So listen. So right now, all right. So Tank frees up. All right. Let's just say that Tank goes ahead and fights Zepeda or whoever. You know what I'm saying? Coming up, it still don't stop Tank from fighting Shakur, whether Shakur have both of them fights back to back or not.
Exactly. Now that's what I agree with you.
Because Tank gonna fight in November. So we believe, right? Then he gonna take a break. What? He probably fight 6 months later at the earliest.
Right.
So you say what? Probably March, April, May, somewhere around there, something like that at the earliest. So that's still time for him and Shakur to make a fight if it's gonna happen. But what I'm saying is that we already know, according to you know for sure that Shakur already done told Tank he wanted to fight. Tank said he wanted to fight Shakur. So when Kambosa dropped out, why wouldn't Tank's first option be to say send Shakur the contract?
Well, that's what they were trying to say.
Hold on, y'all. I hear what everybody's saying. I mean, I guess everybody got their own perspective, but I want to switch gears here for a second and go around the panel and get your 2 cents on this situation and people in the chat. Is Crawford fighting Fundora next? I want to get y'all 2 cents about that. Do y'all think that Crawford will be willing to step in the ring with the fighter like Fundora? Mr. Greg, what you got?
I believe he will. I just don't know if the fight's going to happen. There's too many moving parts in all of this. now, because there's, I think we mentioned it earlier, that if necessary, if he chooses to, Charlo can step in and activate. I think he's already a champion in recess. I believe that's his status, to get
Yes,
that
yes.
fight. If that's what he wanted to do. I do believe, however, Bud will take that fight. He's not getting the Canelo fight right now anyway, even if Canelo really wanted to fight. So I think he will step in and take that fight. And I think that fight will, in my opinion at least, really, more so than the Madrimov fight, make him understand the weight class that he's in now and how much more difficult those fighters, particularly there's a lot of top guys there now who can fight, and it'll make him realize how difficult 154 really will be. So I hope that happens. I like to see him fight Charlo. Actually, I'm not even thinking about anything else. Even Fundora, I think if he stay, I think he beats Fundora. That's my opinion, but it's going to be very difficult, which is what I think he needs to have. He needs to have those kind of fights, to me, to show what he really is. Because most people only are judging him on that one fight, the Spence fight. They haven't really looked clearly, in my opinion, at his other fights. So yes, I think he takes the fight with Fondor. I think he beats Fondor.
Best videos, what you got?
Well, I think first of all, I don't think the
And y'all
WBO
let
would
me
have.
know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. Go ahead, best
I
video.
don't. I don't think the WBO would have even ordered it if Terrence didn't have any interest in the fight. So I think obviously he knows that he was somewhat orchestrated them doing it. So I think yes, he wants either Fundora to drop the belt or fight him. I think that's the only thing that's left for him is to try to get undisputed. Because again, I don't think he's going to ever fight Canelo either. So that gives him one step, whether he takes the fight, whether Fundora takes it or not. Um, yeah, he wants to fight. He'll fight him if he takes it because I think he's going to try to get undisputed in the fight. Listen, Madrimov came with a style that no one has ever seen. To show you how great Terrence is, he made a guy that was undefeated with 400 amateur fights fight a style that no one has just expected him to fight, where no one's seen that before. So I mean, yeah, kudos to him for lasting for lasting for doing that new style that gave Terrence a little problems, but that's not going to be the case when he fights Fundora. Fundora is not going to do that. Fundora fights one way. He's going to fight regular, and he's going to get knocked out, just like
We
Tim.
gonna
Tim
see.
would have knocked Tim. Tim would have knocked him out if he hadn't. They hadn't clashed heads. Tim was just beating him soundly in that fight. If y'all recall, in the first few rounds, and he would have knocked him out. Had
I
that
mean, we
fight, had
talking
he
about 2 rounds. Y'all talking
no,
about he was beating them soundly in that
listen,
fight like
bro.
he
He
was
was
we talking
he
about 2 rounds.
would have won easily against Fundora. Fundora is not that good. I'm just telling y'all. Okay, y'all watch. Fundora is not that good. I'm just letting y'all know that right now. That's too. That was
If
like they
Terrence
say.
Crawford retire and don't fight Fundora, did he duck?
If he retires and don't fight Fundora, I
Yeah, is it a
mean,
duck?
if unless he just don't want to fight no more. You think he's scared of? I'm gonna ask you two cents. Do you think Bud is any way scared of Fundora? Yes or no?
It's not that I think Bud is scared of
Okay,
Fundora. I
explain to
just
me.
think that Bud is older. He don't
Hmm.
move like he used to. These are young, hungry fighters, and he knows that getting in that ring with them will be challenging. He's at 54. I mean, yeah, he got skill and all that, but the size does play a part. And then you're talking about somebody with a 100-inch arm reach that's 9 feet tall. That's gonna be a difficult fight for him,
Well, Tim,
regardless.
no, it's not. If you look at
Nine
those first
fingers
three,
in the building. What's going on, Nine Fingers?
if you look at that fight, Tim would have beat him easily. He's tall, but he don't know how to use his range. And I've seen a lot of tall fighters get starched. So it doesn't matter if you don't know how to use your range. You still going to be open to big shots. So,
I think
and
all
we
A
those
lot
saw
of
fights
that.
a lot of
will be.
open torso.
I think all those fights will be challenging for Bud. Not saying he's not gonna win or nothing like that. I'm just saying
I don't now see
they will
that's
be
why
challenging.
I don't agree with you. That'll be a challenging fight for him. If
You
he
got to
to
think
me
Bud is on his
if he
fourth weight
retires,
class.
If he retires, I think he just done. He just wanted the Canelo fight. He didn't get it, and he don't want to fight no more. So it happens. 2 cents. I don't think it would be a duck because I don't think anywhere near he's scared to fight or think that's going to be a tough fight. But anyway, whoever's next could
What
go.
you got, Israel Brown?
What was the initial question?
Crawford versus Madrimov. I mean Madrimov. Crawford versus Fundora. What you think about that fight? Is he taking that fight? Who you see winning that fight?
Oh, and if he don't talk, will it be a duck? Okay, so I see him taking the fight because he has expressed interest in becoming undisputed at 154, like the brother said. So I don't see why he would move up to 154 to win a title, be on the way there and then stop, and then here's a chance to pick up another belt or two right here.
Well, he has
So
said Canelo was his only motivation. Not to cut you off, but he said
not
Canelo was his only motivation.
Yeah, he also said that he wanted to be undisputed at 154 as well. So we'll see, but I think he takes that fight, and I think that Fundora would be lucky to last 6 rounds.
Right,
We'll
and I
see.
agree.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's a lot of open torso for a heavy puncher that's as skilled as Terrence Crawford. I can see him another almost like a Victor Postal doubled up and damn near dead in there.
Wow.
Well, I'm a Crawford fan. I hope that does happen, but I think I think the fights at 154 is going to be a little more tougher than.
Andre Noble, what up? Yeah, I do think the fights at 154 are going to be a little bit more tougher. And, with that being said, I think Charlo needs to get a little bit more credit for his 54 undisputed run. A lot of people tried to say, he didn't have to fight nobody. It was nobody at 54. But I think now that their favorite fighters and these fighters are moving up to 54, they are seeing that it's not that easy of a division. It's a completely different division. The power is different, the gloves are a different size. It's a lot of things that's different at 54 that a lot of people aren't taking into consideration. And I do
until
still believe that Charlo is the man to beat at
But
154
two
pounds.
cents, two
until
cents.
Terrence runs
When is that
until
Hold
man
on, hold
Terrence
going?
on, hold on. Mr. Boxing Fanatic in the building. What's going on, Mr. Boxing Fanatic? What you got, Terrence?
Oh, I was saying 2 cents. The guy has to be in fight shape to fight. I would love to see him come back. But is he? I mean, he got that money. Is he done? Is he? Is he going? Does
I
he
don't
have
know.
the motivation to fight? Why do we keep talking about a guy that doesn't seem like he has the motivation
Well,
anymore?
he's came out on his social medias and said it
Is he
multiple
in
times.
shape? Has he been training?
I don't know.
Because you gotta do. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, I want to fight. Yeah, I'm gonna be back." And you sitting on the couch eating potato chips and drinking all day. Because I don't know. I'm with you. If he gets in shape and says, "I want to come back," I would love to see Terrence. That be the undisputed. To me, that should be the last fight. But he has. That's on Charlo to get himself in shape. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he
Yeah.
can do it because he's been sitting out for a while. I ain't heard from him. I hear about him training, and you don't know. It's just like I don't know if you know football. That Russell, he ate himself out the NFL. It happens. You get a lot of money, and some people just don't have the motivation anymore. So for Charlo, I don't know. He might never fight again. So that's just might be a fight we never get to see because Charlo doesn't have the motivation. But I would love to see him get in the mix because yeah, I don't want to see him get the undisputed against a bum. I want him to get it against somebody who's respected. So, but he's got to
I
get
don't
it.
think that's what he's trying to do, though.
Why you? Why you? Why do you? Why do you always look at the negative side with Bud? You think you always think Bud's not.
Hey, I'm just being honest with y'all. I don't. You think he really trying to have a tough fight for the? Nah, that's not what he's trying to
I
do.
mean, but this is the thing. This is what you have to consider though. When you make those statements, you have to consider this. Okay, he stepped into 154. He looked and fought the first champion available. I mean, what was he supposed to do? He looked and he fought the first champion available. Now he looked and he seen another champion. He said, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna fight this nigga next."
And he
He
seen
said, "No,
another
you ain't. I'm
champion,
fighting
and he
her."
said, "I just want Canelo."
Hold up, because he already told the world he wanted to be one undisputed at 3 weight classes. That came out his mouth. So Fundora, understanding that, because Fundora said, "I'm not fighting Crawford. I'm fighting Spence." That's why he's standing under a mandatory obligation right now.
He could have fought Fundora. He didn't want to fight Fundora. He wanted to make a fight with Madrimov.
What?
He
Fundora
didn't
said
want to
he
wait.
was fighting Earl Spence and he was
No,
not fighting Terrence
Come
Crawford.
It
on,
don't
2
matter
cents.
what he said.
No, hold up, wait a minute. So what? We gotta drag this nigga in the ring?
Come on,
What
2
y'all
cents.
not understanding is he was already making the fight with Madrimov. That's why they were making the fight with Spence. See, what they like to do is don't be
No,
leaving
this
that
all
stuff out
happened
that Bud
after
doing behind the
Madrimov.
scene,
2
and then
cents.
want to complain about what's going on because of the decisions that
No,
Bud already made.
this all happened after Madrimov. This is after he got to 154. Fundora is at 154.
Oh my God.
Wait a minute, 2 cents.
We
If
got
I
Paid in
recall,
Full in the building. What's going on, Paid in Full?
if I
Oh,
recall
paid up in
correctly,
here.
what was supposed to have happened was Tim Zoo had the WBO belt, and they were making a fight with Spence, if I recall correctly. So they was in my opinion, Terrence wasn't going to get the fight with Tim Zoo because they were talking with Spence, and I believe Tim Zoo still had an agreement of some sort with PBC in the
Right,
first place.
right.
That was what's supposed to happen at first, and then somehow, I guess,
No, remember Tim and Fundora fought.
yeah, Tim and Fundora fought because I believe Fundora is with PBC as well. Is that correct?
Right, correct.
Okay,
Honduras with
so
PBC, but Tim Zoo is not with PBC.
but he had,
He's not.
I believe he still had an
He's like
agreement
partnered
still in
with them.
place
Yeah, he's
because he was
partnered with
supposed to
them.
fight Charlo, and that fight didn't happen because Charlo went and fought Canelo, but that didn't negate the agreement all the way. So I guess since they owed Tim Zoo a fight, which they did because they canceled the fight with Charlo, the next available person was supposed to have been Spence. That would have also got him some money, if I recall correctly, as well. But for whatever reason, along with him having a problem with his eyes and so forth, Spence didn't take the fight. So it was convenient. I got 2 guys I got our agreement with already, or some kind of agreement. We'll put them together. So they pushed Crawford away. So the WBO said, wait a minute, we're gonna make him the mandatory. So whatever other machinations that took place behind the scenes that caused him now to have to fight Madrimov is because Tim Zoo and Fundora was already set. It wasn't that Terrence avoided them. So that's how this came about. So
But
now where we are now, the WBO says again, okay, you're gonna have to fight Terrence. Now, will Fundora actually do it? We will see.
Yeah, that's
We
the
got 30
question.
days.
That is
and
the question. But
but
will
2 cents.
will Terrence Crawford actually do it? Because Terrence Crawford only fights once a year. Will he fight again in December?
Well, you only can. I hope he does, but you can only fight when the fights are going to get made. I don't think they. This is what we was just saying. Fighters want to fight, but they don't have the power to decide. Well, I want to fight 3 times a year. Well, who's paying for it? You're not funding the fight. Once again, comes right back down to that. Whoever's going to fund the fight and finance will make the rule. So if I'm going to fund the fight, but it's not going to be into next year, that's when you'll get the fight, unless you can go somewhere else and get another fight.
Paid in Full, what you got for the show? What's your 2 cents?
Oh, I'm just listening to y'all cook, and I ain't really got too much to say on that topic.
Okay, you just coming in later, or you got another topic you want to speak on?
Yeah, no, I actually just tuned in not too long ago. I think I heard the last guy speaking. That was the last person I heard really speaking about it.
Oh,
So I
okay.
just kind of like said what's up in the chat and hit the link.
Well, I would love to see. Listen, I want to see Terrence Crawford fight a lot of these guys at 54. The names, not the Madrimofs of the division. I want to see him fight the
He's
names.
going
Yeah.
for
Listen,
undisputed.
Okay.
man,
I
all
don't.
that's cool. Going for undisputed, that's cool. But really, we want to see you fight these names and get in these fights that the public perceives to be
Okay,
competitive.
I'm saying like
You
who
you
though?
got the accolades. I want to see him
Like
fight
who?
Fundora. I want to see him fight Charlo. I want to see him
Fundora. Hold on,
fight.
we just established that Fundora ducked. He tried his best
He
to
did
duck out
not
a fight.
duck.
Terrence
They just
Crawford, the whole
mandated. We waiting
boxing.
to see what happens. We waiting
Yeah,
to see
yeah,
what
okay.
happens.
So we
So
not
he
gonna
ducked
act
the
like he
first
didn't
time.
try, that's
He ducked
Terrence
the first
Crawford ain't
time.
after him.
He said
Then
because remember he said he
So I
couldn't
guess
fight him.
I guess none of the names gonna fight Crawford. He keep having to fight these
hold up, no,
foreigners
I'm
that
saying
none of us
no,
ever heard of.
I'm asking you 2 cents. 2 cents. I'm asking you what name? Because Fundora, we know that Fundora tried to duck. So what other name other than Madrimov? So we got them two off the board. Madrimov had a belt. So why would we sit around and let him keep it? Bam,
Hold
take
on.
that. So now, what other name?
Fundora Dark who?
I want to see him
Bud,
fight Charlo.
Bud,
He
Kenny.
Charlo, okay. Charlo just got done running from Canelo for 12 rounds.
That ain't got nothing to
and
do
now
with
he's
54.
back
That ain't got nothing to
claiming.
do with 54.
No, it
That
don't.
ain't
It
got
really
nothing to
don't.
do
But
with 54.
we just putting his pedigree out there. We just watched him. We just watched him at the Spence fight talking to James Harden when Terrence Crawford came to the ring and told him he was next to get his ass beat, sitting there looking scared half to death, and then retired.
Terrence Crawford
Then
hopped on
ran
Twitter
out of
and
boxing.
said how he and then Terrence Crawford hopped on Twitter saying how he don't want to fight Charlo.
Hey, because look at how.
Because
listen,
well, hold on, because of
when
look
you
at
went-
wait, yeah, let me finish because of how he looked in the Canelo fight trying to take credit for
Exactly.
another man win.
Exactly.
That ain't got nothing to do with you.
because
But Charlo
No,
gotta
he
get in
went.
shape.
Charlo and
Hey, Charlo
Canelo
went up
is
there
the
and ran for 12 rounds. He was
that ain't
like,
got
he went up
nothing
there
to
and
do
got.
with 54. Not
That
one
don't
No,
got nothing to
thing.
I
do
got
with
you.
The
54,
two
I
is
feel
bro.
not
you. I feel
correlated.
you. Well,
So
until
I
Charlo show up at
it show up
54, till Charlo
exactly.
actually show up at
We ain't had
54,
Charlo
we
ever
can keep
looking
his
like
name
that.
out of it.
What
But
you
when
mean?
have you ever
Charlo was
looking like that?
undisputed at 54. How you gonna keep
Nobody
his
No,
name
I'm
beat him.
saying
out of
no,
it?
no,
He
no,
gotta
no. I'm
be
saying
ready to fight.
no. I'm saying until Charlo shows back up at 154
In
and
shape.
start talking about where Terrence Crawford at, we don't want to hear
Exactly.
nothing about Charlo.
I would also like to see him fight Tim Zoo.
Yep.
Look
Tim
at all
Zoo
these
don't want it.
Tim Zoo. Look at all these people they naming in the chat.
So okay,
Tim Zoo do not want it.
if
He might
if
not want it. I
If
want
Tim Zoo has a belt, Bud would have to go through him, right? If he wants to be undisputed. I'm
Exactly.
confused.
I
Any of these
want
guys you talking about that have the belt, Bud, to get that belt has to go through them.
Bud
Get a
said
Let him
belt.
still
he
let
don't
Get a
Tim
want
belt
Zoo be
and
still
let's
holding
he
go.
that
want
belt when he gets
Canelo or
around
he
to him.
retiring. Bud said he don't
No,
want them
let
belts. He
Tim
want
Zoo be
Canelo
still
or he
holding that belt when he
retiring.
get done with Fundora.
See, but listen, Bud want to say Canelo or retire, but if that belt get in the hands of somebody that's low risk and he can get a high reward, he gonna go take that fight. But now all of a
Who would
sudden
be
Like
high?
he
Who
who?
would
want
be high?
Like
Canelo or
Who
he
would
who?
gonna
be?
be
Hold up.
retired.
Who would be
Like
high
who?
risk then? Who would be high risk? Who at 154 is high risk for Terrence Crawford?
Fundora is high risk for Terrence Crawford.
Fundora.
Fundora, yes.
He's
That's a
Your
not
high
high
birthday
risk
risk.
watched a
fight.
lot of Terrence
That's a
Crawford
high
fights,
risk.
bro.
Are you
She
serious?
couldn't have.
Yes, I definitely have watched Terrence Crawford fights. He's not
That's
Superman.
gonna be
And he's
easy.
at his fourth weight class.
Terrence Crawford gonna brutalize Fundora.
It's gonna be easy
Okay,
work.
we'll see. We'll see if he take the fight.
Man, y'all some
I'm
good.
But
telling you.
listen, 2 cents. 2 cents. If you recall, after that fight between Tim Zoo and Fundora, Bud was ready to fight. He was like, "Yeah, let's get it on." And they were the ones saying, "Oh, we can't do it. Oh, we got an injury. Oh, we can't." They the ones pushed the fight back. Bud was ready to fight
Because he
Fundora.
injured. He be sweat a lot. What's going
Oh,
on?
come on, 2
He
cents. He's
injured. What
injured.
you mean they pushed the fight back? The man, you seen how brutal and bloody that fight was. The man was
Exactly, bro.
injured.
Like, come on, bro.
Y'all want him to go
Bro.
fight Bud off of injury like that and not fully healed? I'm sure
Hey,
Bud
Okay,
would
well,
man.
he
love
ain't
that,
got
but
How
no
he's
long
not
can
excuse.
you
gonna do
wait?
that.
He's 36.
Well,
He ain't got all that time.
Roy
Drop
Jones
the
ain't got
belt,
no
and when
excuse
you ready
now.
to fight, then get back in
Who
it.
fault is that?
Shit.
Nobody. Shit, it ain't their fault. He 36 shit. It's not their fault. He waited this late to try to step on the scene and become a star.
Man,
That's his fault.
I asked for a high risk fight at 154 for Terrence Crawford, and we got
Give me no
Fundora.
follow.
Alden
We
Johnson, what's
got
going on?
Fundora.
I mean, if you think Bud can beat everybody, then nobody gonna be a high risk fight
No,
according to you
nobody
at
thinks
54.
Fundora is gonna beat Bud Crawford except you, I guess.
I never said he was gonna beat him. I said it was a high risk fight.
What do you think
Man,
the odds will be
Alden
on that
Johnson,
fight?
what's
I'm
going
telling you that
on?
the Vegas odds is gonna be probably
Yeah.
minus 17,000 for
You
Fundora.
better
Man,
vote.
stop it.
Hey, hey,
Stop
two
it,
cents.
bro. You
Two cents.
y'all
What do you
gotta
think the
stop.
odds will be on that fight?
Hey, two cents.
Two
Minus
Y'all
cents.
gotta stop.
17,000.
Hey, two
That's what I'm
cents.
saying. It would be a major upset if Fundora beat
Man,
Bud.
I'm telling you, the
Major,
most major.
major upset.
Vegas
Y'all
ain't
know
gonna
So
get
what?
that
that
boy a snowball. Hey,
I'm just
Vegas
telling
ain't
you.
gonna get that boy. Vegas
I'm
ain't gonna
telling you,
get that
two
boy a
cents.
snowball's
That
chance
would
in
be
hell.
a major upset. That's why we telling you we don't think it's a tough fight because
Nah,
At
bro.
it'll be a
all, it
major
ain't no
upset.
risk to that fight. That's a free
Hey,
belt.
two cents.
Yeah, what's up, Peyton Full?
Bro, they think Bud is so invincible, bro. It's crazy. Like these some
I bet
fanatics.
you don't put no money that Fundora gonna beat him.
I definitely put money that Fedora
Man,
would beat him. I
I want
absolutely
to see your
would.
ticket.
definitely,
I want
bro.
to
And
see.
I drop
Man,
some
I
change
want
on
to
Nah,
see
you
if
it.
too.
that fight
I
get
want to
real,
Hey,
I
see.
now listen. If somebody gonna do it as a bet at Vegas, I can see that because the odds is gonna be
Yeah,
tremendous. If you
yeah.
win,
Like
you gonna win
$5.
so much money.
Like
It's damn
$5
near
winning
worth it, right?
You
$200.
better, hey, y'all
But I
better
bet
hope
you,
Goose don't
all
come
your
up here.
homies around you that you ain't gonna get no odds on. If somebody say nigga bet 100, you gonna be quiet as a church mouse.
Y'all better pray Boots don't come up there and get no belt.
I
Okay, well,
bet
that's
Boots
the
won't fight
thing.
Madrimov.
Cause
Hey, that's what we want.
y'all get
Hey,
very
that's what we
emotional
want.
when Boots' name is mentioned with Bud.
All right, y'all. Listen, it's almost time for me to go, so I'm gonna go around the panel and let everybody get their last 2 cents off. We're gonna start with you, Terrence. Best videos. What you got? How you want to end the show?
Oh yeah,
Well,
just want
hold
to end the
on. We
show.
got Jay Henderson coming to the stage. I'm gonna let Jay Henderson get off his 2 cents real quick. Jay Henderson, what you got for the show?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on?
Not much, man. I'm listening to this conversation and I'm hearing four bud buddies on the line right now, and I'm sorry, bro. I can't let it go on no longer. I've been really just sitting back, like I'm gonna just let it slide. But man, listen, y'all know as well as I do. I put 6 names in that chat. Every one of them cats got a legitimate shot at beating Crawford. Now, if you want to sit back and try to overanalyze it or look at it a specific way, that's up to you. But you know, Virgil Ortiz,
No
okay, is
chance.
going
Hold
to.
on. Shout out the Rebuttal Entertainment in the chat. What's up, Rebuttal? Go ahead, finish up.
Virgil
No chance.
Ortiz. He
No
say
problem.
Virgil Ortiz?
No
Virgil
chance.
Ortiz,
But go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead. Next one.
Then
No
you want to go
chance.
with Madrimov like he whooped Madrimov's ass,
Yeah,
like he
but
just went in there
Nadrimov
and defeated
changed his whole
Madrimov.
style though.
Seriously?
He changed his whole style though. Did he
No,
come?
he
You
didn't.
see
He
him
just
fight?
came in
Who he
prepared.
fought
He
like
came
that
in prepared.
against? I'm
It
asking you,
was
who
a
did
tough
Nadrimov
fight.
fight?
Hey, it was
Who
a
did he
tough
fight
fight.
like that
It was a
against?
tough fight.
Think
It
about
Who
it
did
though.
happens. It
he?
was a
Put
tough
your
fight.
bets in yourself back. Bud got 40
Huh?
fights. Madrimov had 11. And
He
he
got
It
was
was a tough
400.
fight.
He got
sports came in
400
winning and
amateur
almost took him down.
fights. He got 400 amateur fights.
I wouldn't care if he
But
had
tell
eleven.
Look at
Booster
how
fight him.
I'm gonna show you.
Amateur fights.
Tell
I got
Booster
Hey,
amateur
fight
look,
him.
fights.
look at how
I can't beat
unprepared he
Bud
is
Tell
for this
amateur.
Booster
argument.
fight
Watch
him.
this.
All right,
Hey,
hold
watch
on,
this.
y'all.
Hey,
Hold
watch
on.
this. Hey, watch
Tell
this.
Booster
Hey,
fight
bro.
him.
Hey, I bet you can't tell me. I bet you can't tell me. You just brought up the fact that Madrimov only had 11 fights. I bet
And I
you can't
can't
tell
name
me.
anybody else he fought.
Hold up, no.
Definitely
I'm gonna
can't.
ask you a question. I bet you can't tell me how many rounds Madrimov's first fight was.
I can't. What's that got to
Okay,
do with
I'm gonna
him
tell you.
almost beating Bud?
Listen. Check this out. I'm gonna give
What's
you an
that got to do
interesting
with him
fact.
almost beating Bud?
I'm gonna give you an interesting fact because it's important. This is
Oh, it's
why.
important.
This is what
Okay.
takes you out of
Okay,
casual
school me then.
fandom into real
School me then.
boxing fandom.
School
Hey,
me then,
listen.
please.
Because listen, you can't go through history and find very many fighters that had more than 4 to 6 rounds their very first professional fight. That's a fact. Madrimov's first fight was 10 10 rounds, his very first professional fight. That's important because they based that on the experience that he had before he got there. The man was not no rookie in the ring. He had 400 amateur fights.
So why
Which
did you
amateur
guys-
fight is,
so
hold
why
up, wait a
did you
minute.
guys withdraw?
Amateur fighting is held way more to a higher esteem over there than it is over here. And I'm going to drop it with this. The reason why I brought all that up is because Madrimov proved to be a better fighter than everybody thought he was, is what it turned out to be.
Including
And that's
y'all,
going to
right?
prove itself.
Including y'all, right? He shot y'all too, right?
Yeah, me too as well. Yes.
Exactly. So how do you know the other 6 people I named won't do the same thing?
I'm sorry?
All of you, listen, the one collective thing that I heard all of you guys say was that Bud is going to wash every one of those guys. He didn't wash.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh,
I said he
We
was going to
said
watch
Fundora.
Fundora.
We said Fundora.
We said Fundora.
All right,
We
y'all.
said
It's 7
Fundora,
o'clock.
bro.
It's 7 o'clock. I'm about to go ahead and head out. We can continue this conversation the next time I'm live. I've been popping up a
Cool.
lot lately, so check me and see me if you catch me on a pop-up live. But you for sure can come back and catch me next Sunday from 5 to 7 p.m. Listen, thank you for everybody that came through today. Thank you for everybody that gave in the Cash App. Shout out to everybody that popped up, left their 2 cents in the comment, hopped on the panel and gave their contribution. Look out for me during the week. I'm doing a lot more pop-up lives. Shout out to all of my day one subscribers. Shout out to my new subscribers. I really appreciate y'all. As you know, we have hit the 1,000 mark. We're definitely on our way to 5,000. That is the next goal. So make sure you like, share the content. Tell somebody to tell somebody about 2 Cents Boxing, the most underrated boxing channel in these YouTube streets. I'm Jay, and stay tuned for my 2 cents in the next video.
Thank you.